View from a balcony, building the blue lawn chairs next to the ice chest. Stuffed 2 grams in the blunt that we just blew. Now I'm getting blown by a bitch who I don't know her name. Gold chain hanging, got a few in the room, but I don't wear them out. Only wear them in the house, cause I shine so bright that I wanna blind you.
Smiled and walked behind it. However, as he did, he heard a slight crash sound in the distance. He decided it wasn't important and just shrugged it off. However, as he followed the fox, he got a strange feeling. It was a type of poof feeling, like that. You get it when you feel like someone is watching you, but then you turn around and no one's there. Naruto felt a slight chill running up his spine as he continued to follow the fox. The blonde also noticed that a frog was to from starting to form. However, it suddenly became very thick. So thick in the fact that Naruto is no longer see a foot in the foot of him. When he did, he felt something cold and hard pressing up against his throat. When he felt this, he suddenly stopped and heard a voice falling behind him. You know that you are pretty good in genjutsu. You have on yourself. I for the second almost have on yourself. I, for a second, almost thought that you were a real child. Walking through the woods, he heard a male voice say, "What? Am I a kid?" Naruto said, a little confused. The blonde then tried to turn around, but when he did, he felt the same blade move closer to his throat and press into it slightly. This stopped the young blonde in his tracks, and he continued to look into the thick fog. I'm telling you, mister, I have no idea what you're talking about, Naruto said as his body began to shake with fear. Oh really? Then how do you explain the fox? It's really leading you directly to our village. You expect us to believe that you are following a fox that was heading towards our village with you having no reason to follow it? The man asked, drawing the blade closer to his neck, causing some blood to trickle down Naruto's cheeks. There a village around here? Really? Ah man, that's great. Hey, can I join your village? Naruto asked with a smile on his face. This actually stopped the man dead in his tracks. Join the village where the first person you meet threatens you and his kid insane? The man thought to himself before he looked down at the boy and saw that he had performed the release technique and a while ago, and nothing seems to be different. He then took his kunai away from the blond boy's neck and sighed again. I better not get a lecture from Shibaki after this. The older male mumbled as he looked at the male in front of him. Alright, well, if you really want to join, then follow me, the man said, looking at Naruto. This caused Naruto to smile and follow behind him. Naruto then nodded and noticed that Kasune wasn't with him. Um, Actually, could you give me a minute? Naruto asked, looking at him. What? Why? Did you lose something? The man asked, looking at him. Well, sorta. You were right about the fox. It's smart. For some odd reason, however, the few days, I guess you could say we've short of a bond. So I wanted to find Kusune before we went to the village. Was all, Naruto said, looking at the male in front of him. When the male heard this, he was slightly surprised but sighed. He then reached into his jacket and pulled out a bottle of sake. Sure. Think it. Well, send letting us say 5 minutes looking for the pet. Then we head to the village, he said, looking at him as he took a rather large gulp of his sake at Konoha. Hiruzen was certainly looking at a few documents he had to fill out. It was stressful on the old man. He had gone through almost everything in the world, yet the only enemy he cannot overcome is all the paperwork he had to do. However, he internally smiled as a man came into his office. This meant that he is no longer had to do paperwork, so he was very excited. Lord Third, we have some news, the ombu said, looking at the older male in front of him. Oh, well, it's good news or bad news? The elderly man asked, looking at the figure in front of him. For you, bad. For the rest of the village, they'll probably see it as a good news, the man said, looking at him. Really? Well, what is it? Herzen asked, looking at him. Well, we have recovered a body. It was burned pretty badly. We believe this young Naruto, the man said, looking at him. Herzen gasped, nearly choked on his pipe when he heard this and looked at the man in front of him with a surprised look on his face. What? How can you be sure? Herzen asked, looking at the man in front of him. Well, we aren't 100% sure, but we are almost certain that this burned body belongs to Naruto. The body burns belongs to all recognizing, so there's no way to be certain that this is Naruto. However, using chakra and a few other meanings I'm not comfortable with discussing, we are able to find out the following about this individual, the man said, placing some paper on his desk. Cruised inside and picked up the documents. He scanned it over and got the information part of it. Let's see. According to this, they say we're about to find out that the burned body was 6 years old, and certainly sounds like Naruto. Uh, that brat, however, we can't proclaim anything just yet. Let's see, even the teeth were burned, so there's no way to tell if it's him or not. Oh, oh no. The victim's stomachs, they found a seal. They tried to remove the seal, however, nothing appears. When they did, Hiruzen felt his heart drop at the last part. He knew that Naruto had a seal on his stomach, neck. Everyone knew that how much, however, they tried to take it out and nothing appeared that fit Naruto almost perfectly. If he was burnt, then of course the Kyuubi would also be dead, explaining why they couldn't get it out of the seals. He was inside and looked at the envelope in front of him. Thank you for the information. You are dismissed, he said, looking at him. He nodded and disappeared into thin air. When he was alone, Hiruzen left a tear coming to his eyes and walked over to the window and stared up to the Hokage monument. Oh, Minato, your son, the last of your clan and hero of this village, has been killed. How disappointing you would be in all of this. I have failed you, and this village has failed you, Hiruzen said as he stared up to the rocks. However, if he had looked at a little closer, if his eyes weren't blinded by tears, he would have been able to see two figures standing on top of the second Hokage head. One of these figures was an old man with bandages covering his right arm and his right eye. The other was an ombu that just in his office just moments ago, Lord Donzo. The documents have been delivered, the man said, looking at the earlier mail in front of him. Good news. That Hiruzen thinks that Naruto is dead. We are free to keep searching with a little to no interference. Donzo said, looking at him. So keep searching for Naruto. Then the Ombu asked, looking at him. Of course. You keep searching, you idiot. The elderly man said, looking at him. When he said this, the Ombu nodded, turning around and disappeared. However, Danzo looked over at the village, and when he did, he smiled. Konoha, soon, very soon, I promise that you will be under my control. Once I have Naruto in my position and turn him into roots, agent, there won't be anything that can stop me from becoming Hokage and making this village my own, Danzo said out loud. As he looked at the village so far, people of Konoha slept well, cause sooner or later you all will be under my control, he said, as he turned around and began to walk away. Somewhere outside of Konoha, an elderly man with long white hair was certainly flirting with two waitresses. He also had a bottle of sake in both hands as he both hands as well as the two red stain on his face indicates that he had drunk more than his fair share of sake already. Yeah, Sasuke, it's all legit. I'm very serious. The actor in The Land of Snow. In fact, I've starred in several movies. He said, looking at the girl in front of him. Oh wow, that's so cool. I wish we got customers like you more often, the young woman said, looking at him. However, their conversation was interrupted when a man appeared in front of him. When he did, Jiraiya gained a serious impression and leaned forward. He then turned to the girl that was at his side and said, please leave me and my friend alone for a few moments. He said, looking at the female. Okay, but don't keep me waiting. A long girl can lose interest very quickly, the young female said, walking away. Alright, so what do you got for me? Jiraiya asked, looking at the male in front of him. Well, as you know, Naruto has left the village. We haven't been able to track his exact location yet. However, I think he is still in the land of fire. We aren't sure where he is heading or if he even had a destination at the moment. However, it is very safe to bet to say that he is heading one of the other major ninjas village. The young man said, looking at him. I see. And what of Danzo's? What is he doing about all of this? Surely he's not just sitting back and doing nothing about it. That just doesn't sound like something he would do. The elderly white haired male said, looking at the young male in front of him. Well, you're right about that. He earlier today ordered me to create some forged documents and hand them to Lord Lord Horizon. Then documents were enough to convince him that Naruto is now dead. However, this information is in fact false. Naruto is very much alive. As of our certain information, and Donzo wants him, the man said, looking at him. I assume he wants him to make him a root soldier, Jiraiya said, looking at him. Yes, however, he doesn't want to make him any members of a root. I hope you like and subscribe. I made this one in a rush. So yeah, I don't know how you guys like it, so I hope you like and subscribe. Subscribe.